Listen carefully, because what I'm about to share with you could mean the difference between keeping your wealth and losing everything you've worked for. If you own gold coins right now, you need to understand something critical. You've just painted a target on your back, and the people coming after you aren't who you think they are. Let me start with a story that'll make your blood run cold. 3 months ago, a 68-year-old retiree in Phoenix named Robert Chen walked into his local coin shop to sell some American Eagles he'd been holding for 15 years. Nothing unusual about that, right? People sell gold all the time. But here's what Robert didn't know. The moment that transaction was recorded, his name went into a database. Not a government database. Something far more sophisticated. Within 48 hours, Robert received his first investment opportunity call. Within a week, he'd been contacted by 3 different companies offering to help him diversify. Within 2 weeks, someone attempted to access his home security system remotely. Robert was lucky. He had a tech-savvy grandson who caught the intrusion attempt. But thousands of other gold owners aren't so fortunate. And right now, as you're watching this, the same thing could be happening to you. You see, there's something happening in the gold market that nobody's talking about publicly, but everyone in the industry knows about. It's a massive data aggregation operation that's been quietly building for the past 18 months. Every time you buy gold coins from a dealer, every time you sell, every time you even inquire about prices, that information is being collected, compiled, and sold to the highest bidder. And who's buying? Criminal organizations, sophisticated scam operations, and even foreign entities looking to identify Americans with significant portable wealth. Think I'm exaggerating? Let me give you some numbers that'll change your mind. According to internal industry reports that most dealers won't discuss publicly, there's been a 340% increase in targeted fraud attempts against known gold coin owners since January 2023. That's not a typo. 340%. We're talking about everything from elaborate phone scams to physical home invasions. In Los Angeles County alone, there were 17 confirmed cases last year of criminals specifically targeting homes where gold coins were known to be stored. 17 that were reported. How many went unreported because victims were too embarrassed or scared to come forward? But here's where it gets really disturbing. The criminals aren't just using basic information anymore. They're using artificial intelligence to build psychological profiles of gold owners. They know that if you own physical gold, you probably distrust traditional banking systems. They know you're likely concerned about economic collapse. They know you value privacy. And they're using that knowledge against you with surgical precision. I spoke with a former fraud investigator who worked these cases for 12 years before retiring last month. He told me something that should terrify every gold owner in America. The scams targeting gold owners today are more sophisticated than anything I saw in my entire career. These aren't Nigerian prince emails anymore. These are multi-week operations with professional actors, fake websites that look identical to legitimate dealers, and social engineering tactics that would fool most people. I've seen retired teachers lose $200,000. I've seen veterans lose their entire life savings, and it's accelerating. Now you might be thinking, I'm careful. I'd never fall for a scam. That's exactly what Robert Chen thought. That's what every single victim thought. Because these operations don't look like scams. They look like legitimate investment opportunities. They sound like concerned financial advisors. They feel like helpful neighbors offering to buy your gold at above market rates. Let me walk you through how one of these operations actually works, because understanding the playbook is your first line of defense. It starts with data acquisition. A criminal organization purchases a list of known gold buyers from a data broker. Yes, these lists exist. And yes, they're completely legal to buy and sell in most states. Your name, address, approximate purchase amounts, and buying patterns are all there. The organization then cross-references this data with public records, social media profiles, and other databases to build a complete picture of who you are. Next comes the approach. This is where it gets clever. They don't call you trying to sell something. That would trigger your defenses immediately. Instead, they call with a warning. Mr. Johnson, this is David from the Precious Metals Protection Association. We've detected some unusual activity related to gold purchases in your area, and we're calling to make sure your holdings are properly secured. Notice what they did there? They positioned themselves as protectors, not sellers. They created urgency without being pushy. and they used just enough specific information to seem legitimate. The conversation continues. We've been tracking a sophisticated theft ring that's been targeting gold coin owners specifically. They're using dealer transaction records to identify victims. Have you purchased gold coins in the last 2 years? Of course you have. That's why you're on the list. I thought so. Here's what we're seeing. These criminals are particularly focused on American Eagles and Canadian Maple Leafs because they're easy to liquidate. Do you own either of those? Again, of course you do. Those are the most common coins. Now comes the hook. Mr. Johnson, I'm going to be straight with you. Your coins are at risk in their current form. But there's a solution. We work with a secure storage facility that specializes in precious metals protection. For a small monthly fee, we can arrange secure storage and insurance. Or, if you prefer, we can help you convert those coins into a different form of gold that's not being targeted. Many of our clients are moving into gold certificates or allocated storage programs. See what happened there? They created a problem that doesn't exist, positioned themselves as the solution, and gave you two options that both benefit them. If you choose storage, you're paying monthly fees for a facility that might not even exist. If you choose conversion, you're selling your real gold for paper promises that are worthless. Either way, you lose. But it gets worse, because while you're on the phone with David, his partner is already running your information through additional databases. They're checking property records to see if you own your home outright. They're looking at your social media to see if you post about vacations. They're building a timeline of when you're most likely to be away from home. And if you don't bite on the phone scam, they've got a backup plan. 3 weeks later, you get a knock on your door. It's a well-dressed man with a professional-looking badge claiming to be from the state's Precious Metals Compliance Division. We're conducting routine audits of gold coin owners to ensure proper reporting and storage compliance. This will only take a few minutes. He's got official-looking paperwork. He knows exactly how much gold you own. He seems legitimate. And the moment you let him in, you've given a criminal access to your home and confirmed that you have gold worth stealing. I know this sounds like something from a movie, but I'm telling you, this is happening right now in cities across America. The FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center received over 2,800 reports related to precious metals fraud in 2024 alone, with total losses exceeding $180 million. And those are just the cases that were reported. Industry experts estimate the real number is 5 to 10 times higher because most victims never come forward. So why is this happening now? Why has gold ownership suddenly become such a massive target? 3 reasons, and they're all connected to what's happening in the broader economy. First, gold prices have been climbing steadily, which means the potential payoff for criminals is bigger than ever. When gold was trading at $1,200 an ounce, stealing someone's coin collection might net you $20,000 or $30,000. At today's prices, that same collection could be worth $80,000 or more. The risk-reward calculation has fundamentally changed. Second, there's been an explosion in gold coin ownership over the past 3 years. Millions of Americans who never owned physical gold before are now buying coins as a hedge against inflation and economic uncertainty. That means there's a much larger pool of potential victims, and many of them are inexperienced. They don't know how to properly secure their holdings. They don't recognize the warning signs of a scam. They're easy targets. Third, and this is the one that should really concern you, there's been a breakdown in privacy protections around precious metals transactions. It used to be that buying gold was a relatively anonymous activity. You could walk into a coin shop, pay cash, and walk out with your purchase. No records, no reporting, no trail. But over the past decade, regulations have tightened dramatically. Dealers are now required to report certain transactions. They're required to verify identities. They're required to keep detailed records. And all of that information is vulnerable to data breaches, insider theft, and legal data sales. Let me give you a specific example of how bad this has gotten. In 2023, one of the largest precious metals dealers in the country suffered a data breach that exposed the personal information of over 400,000 customers. Names, addresses, purchase histories, storage locations, everything. The company sent out a generic notification letter, offered a year of credit monitoring, and moved on. But here's what they didn't tell customers. That data is now circulating on dark web marketplaces, being sold to anyone willing to pay. If you were a customer of that dealer, your information is out there right now, and there's nothing you can do about it. And it's not just data breaches you need to worry about. There's also the issue of insider threats. Coin shop employees who have access to customer databases, armored car drivers who know delivery routes, storage facility workers who know which boxes contain the most valuable holdings. Every single person in the chain of custody is a potential weak link. And with gold prices where they are, the temptation to sell information or participate in a theft operation is stronger than ever. Now, I want to shift gears for a moment and talk about something that's directly relevant to this situation. If you're sitting on $100,000 or more in retirement accounts and you're concerned about protecting your wealth, I put together a free guide on how gold IRAs work. It's in the description below. It covers how to get physical gold into your retirement account without tax penalties, and more importantly, how to do it in a way that keeps your holdings secure and private. It's worth checking out if that's relevant to your situation, because the security protocols for IRA gold are completely different from personal holdings. All right, back to the main issue, because understanding the threats is only half the battle. You also need to know what's driving the increased targeting of gold owners from a market perspective, because that's going to tell you whether this problem is going to get better or worse. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to get worse. Much worse. Here's why. We're entering a period of unprecedented economic uncertainty. Central banks around the world are buying gold at record levels. In 2024, central bank gold purchases hit 1,045 tons, the second highest annual total on record. China alone added 225 tons to its reserves. Turkey added 75 tons. India added 37 tons. These aren't small countries hedging their bets. These are major economic powers making a deliberate decision to move away from dollar-denominated assets and into physical gold. What does that tell you? It tells you that the smart money, the institutional money, the money that has access to information you and I will never see, is betting on gold. And when central banks are buying, you can be absolutely certain that wealthy individuals and family offices are buying too. The demand for physical gold is exploding. But here's the problem. Supply isn't keeping up. Global gold mine production has been essentially flat for the past 5 years. We're not discovering major new deposits. Existing mines are getting deeper and more expensive to operate. And the easy gold, the stuff that could be extracted cheaply, is already gone. What's left requires massive capital investment and years of development time. So you've got surging demand and stagnant supply. Economics 101 tells you what happens next. Prices go up, and they're not going up a little bit. We're talking about a fundamental repricing of gold that could take us to levels most people think are impossible. I've been studying gold markets for 23 years, and I've never seen a setup like this. The technical indicators are screaming. The fundamental drivers are all pointing in the same direction, and the geopolitical backdrop is more unstable than at any point since World War II. We've got wars in Ukraine and the Middle East. We've got the BRICS nations actively working to create an alternative to the dollar-based financial system. We've got the U.S. national debt approaching $36 trillion with no plan to address it. We've got inflation that's still running well above the Fed's target despite their claims of victory. Every single one of these factors is bullish for gold, and every single one of them makes gold owners more attractive targets for criminals. Think about it from a criminal's perspective. If you believe gold is going to $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000 an ounce, then stealing gold today is like stealing money that's going to multiply in value. It's not just theft, it's an investment. And that's exactly how sophisticated criminal organizations are thinking about it. I spoke with a security consultant who works with high net worth individuals, and he told me something chilling. We're seeing criminal organizations that are essentially running gold theft operations like hedge funds. They're doing market analysis. They're timing their operations based on price movements. They're even using futures contracts to hedge their stolen gold before they fence it. This isn't street crime anymore. This is organized, sophisticated, and extremely well funded. And here's what really keeps me up at night. The criminals are getting better at this faster than the security industry is adapting. For every new security measure that gets implemented, there's a countermeasure being developed. Biometric safes? They've figured out how to bypass them. GPS tracking on coin shipments? They've got signal jammers. Encrypted databases? They've got hackers who can crack them. The arms race is real, and right now the criminals are winning. But let's talk about what you can do to protect yourself, because that's what really matters. And I'm going to give you some strategies that go way beyond the basic buy a safe and don't tell anyone advice you've probably heard before. First, understand that privacy is your most valuable asset. The less people know about your gold holdings, the safer you are. That means being extremely careful about who you do business with. Not all coin dealers are created equal. Some have excellent security protocols and strict privacy policies. Others are basically data collection operations that happen to sell gold on the side. Do your research. Look for dealers who have been in business for decades, who have strong reputations, and who take privacy seriously. Second, diversify your storage. Never keep all your gold in one location. I don't care how good your safe is or how secure your storage facility claims to be. If everything is in one place, you're vulnerable. Split your holdings across multiple locations, some at home in a well-hidden safe, some in a bank safety deposit box, some in a private vault facility, maybe even some buried in a location only you know about. Yes, I'm serious about that last one. It sounds paranoid, but paranoia is just pattern recognition when you understand the threats. Third, be extremely skeptical of anyone who contacts you about your gold holdings. I don't care if they sound legitimate. I don't care if they have official-looking credentials. I don't care if they know specific details about your purchases. Legitimate organizations do not cold call gold owners with warnings about security threats or offers to help. If someone contacts you claiming to be from a regulatory agency, hang up and call the agency directly using a number you find independently. If someone offers to buy your gold at above market rates, it's a scam. If someone wants to help you protect your gold by moving it to their facility, it's a scam. If it sounds too good to be true, it is. Fourth, understand that your digital footprint matters. Every time you search for gold prices online, every time you visit a dealer's website, every time you post about precious metals on social media, you're creating data points that can be used to identify you as a gold owner. Use a VPN when researching gold online. Use privacy-focused browsers. Never post about your gold holdings on social media, even in private groups. Assume that everything you do online is being monitored and cataloged. Fifth, and this is crucial, have a plan for what you'll do if you're targeted. Know who you're going to call. Know where your documentation is. Know how to quickly verify whether someone claiming to be from a legitimate organization actually is. Have a code word with family members so you can verify identities over the phone. These might sound like extreme measures, but they're not. They're basic operational security in an environment where gold owners are being actively hunted. Now, let me tell you about something that's coming that's going to make all of this even more complicated. The push for a central bank digital currency. The Federal Reserve has been researching and developing a digital dollar for years now, and while they claim it's just exploratory, anyone paying attention knows it's coming. And when it arrives, it's going to fundamentally change the relationship between citizens and their money. A CBDC would give the government complete visibility into every financial transaction you make. Every purchase, every sale, every transfer. They'd know exactly how much money you have, where it came from, and where it's going. And more importantly, they'd have the ability to control it. They could freeze your accounts instantly. They could impose negative interest rates, forcing you to spend rather than save. They could even set expiration dates on money, making it worthless if you don't use it by a certain time. Sound far-fetched? It's already happening in China. Their digital yuan gives the government complete control over citizens' financial lives. And multiple other countries are implementing similar systems. The IMF is actively pushing for global CBDC adoption. This isn't conspiracy theory. This is documented policy. And here's how this connects to gold. In a CBDC system, physical gold becomes one of the few remaining ways to hold wealth outside the system. It's private, it's portable, it's universally recognized. It can't be frozen or confiscated with the click of a mouse. Which means that as CBDCs roll out, gold ownership is going to become even more attractive to people who value financial privacy and independence. But it also means that gold owners are going to become even bigger targets. Because if you own physical gold in a CBDC world, you're essentially declaring that you don't trust the system. You're opting out. And governments don't like people who opt out. We've seen this movie before. In 1933, President Franklin Roosevelt signed Executive Order 6102, which made it illegal for American citizens to own gold. The government forced people to turn in their gold coins and bars in exchange for paper dollars at a fixed rate of 20.67 per ounce. Then, once they'd collected all the gold, they revalued it to $35 per ounce, effectively confiscating 40% of everyone's wealth. Could something like that happen again? Absolutely. The legal framework still exists. All it would take is another national emergency and a president willing to use executive power. Now, I'm not saying gold confiscation is imminent, but I am saying that gold owners need to understand the historical precedent and the current political environment. When governments get desperate, they do desperate things. And right now, with debt levels where they are and the dollar's reserve status under threat, there's a non-zero chance that we could see some form of gold restrictions in the future. Which brings me back to the central point. If you own gold coins, you need to take security seriously. Not just physical security, but informational security. Not just protecting your gold from theft, but protecting your privacy so that you don't become a target in the first place. Let me share one more story that illustrates why this matters. Last year, a retired couple in Florida had been accumulating gold coins for 20 years. They had about $400,000 worth of American Eagles stored in a safe in their home. They were careful. They didn't tell friends or family. They bought from reputable dealers. They thought they were doing everything right. But they made one mistake. They used their home address when making purchases. And one of the dealers they bought from had a disgruntled employee who was selling customer information on the side. That employee sold their information to a criminal organization for $500. $500. That's all their privacy was worth. 3 months later, while the couple was visiting their daughter in North Carolina, their home was broken into. The thieves knew exactly where the safe was. They knew exactly what was in it. They brought the right tools to open it. They were in and out in under 20 minutes. The couple lost everything, 20 years of careful accumulation, gone in one night. The police investigated, but they never recovered the gold. It was probably melted down within days and sold as scrap. The couple had insurance, but it only covered a fraction of the loss. They're now in their 70s, and they'll never be able to rebuild what they lost. That's the reality of gold ownership in 2025. It's not enough to just buy gold and put it in a safe. You need to think like someone who's being hunted, because you are. You need to assume that your information has been compromised, because it probably has. You need to operate with the understanding that there are sophisticated, well-funded organizations actively looking for people exactly like you. Does that mean you shouldn't own gold? Absolutely not. Gold is one of the most important assets you can own in the current environment. It's real money. It's held its value for thousands of years. It's the ultimate insurance policy against economic chaos. But it does mean you need to be smart about how you own it, how you store it, and how you protect your privacy. The threats are real. The targeting is real. The data collection is real. But so are the solutions. You can protect yourself. You can maintain your privacy. You can own gold safely. You just need to understand the landscape and take appropriate precautions. Because here's the bottom line. The same factors that make gold valuable right now, the same economic instability and monetary chaos that's driving prices higher, those same factors are making gold owners targets. It's a paradox. The more you need gold, the more dangerous it becomes to own it. But that doesn't change the fundamental calculus. You still need it. You just need to be smarter about it. The world is changing fast. The financial system is under stress. The dollar's dominance is being challenged. Central banks are preparing for something big. And in that environment, physical gold is going to become increasingly important. But so is security. So is privacy. So is operational awareness. If you own gold coins, you're not paranoid for taking these threats seriously. You're realistic. You're prepared. You're doing what smart people do when they recognize that the rules of the game have changed. The question isn't whether you should protect yourself. The question is whether you're going to do it before something happens or after. And I can tell you from talking to dozens of victims, after is too late. So take this seriously. Review your security, audit your privacy, understand the threats, and make the changes necessary to keep yourself and your wealth safe. because the people targeting gold owners aren't going away. They're getting more sophisticated, more aggressive, and more successful. And the only thing standing between them and your gold is the decisions you make right now.